Have you missed parts of the David and Celeste case? Every time you try to follow it, the story gets darker, the timeline gets messier, and the truth feels buried under gossip and confusion. But what if I told you there's a way to finally see the full picture? No rumors, no distractions, just the real timeline, built from police reports, news sources, and documented facts. You're watching Fame Insight, and if you don't want to miss the next shocking update in this investigation, make sure you subscribe right now. Now let's rewind to the beginning, because this story doesn't start where you think. Celeste Rivas Hernandez wasn't just a name in the headlines. She was a 14-year-old girl whose story had already taken multiple dark turns long before her tragic discovery. In early 2024, Celeste went missing. Not once, not twice, but 4 separate times between February and May. Each time she would vanish, only to be found and brought back home, until the final disappearance where she never returned. What raised even more eyebrows was her home life. Reports suggest her mother, Mercedes, seemed strangely detached during these disappearances. Instead of posting constant pleas for her daughter's return, her Facebook timeline was filled with casual updates, daily posts and shares, almost as if nothing was wrong. One post from February 18th, just days after Celeste first vanished, caught attention. It included a cryptic message in Spanish, warning Mercedes that Celeste had allegedly been seen on a plane arriving in Mexico, connected to possible trafficking. The chilling part? There's no sign her mother ever followed up on that message. But this was only the beginning. Celeste would go missing again in March, in April, and then in May. And while her family claims she was just running away, the truth was far more complicated, because behind the scenes, she wasn't just disappearing randomly. She was meeting with someone who would soon become the center of a national scandal, the rising R&B star David. And what happened when they first met will leave you speechless. According to friends, Celeste's path crossed with David's long before the headlines. Reports suggest they first connected online, through Twitch, Discord, even Fortnite. At the time, Celeste was only 11 or 12. David, already building his career in music. By 2021, David was posting cryptic hints about a Hello Kitty girl he had met. Fans didn't think much of it then, but later those same posts began to look eerily connected to Celeste, who was known for her obsession with Hello Kitty. Screenshots that surfaced online seemed to confirm their closeness. One message from Celeste read, "My parents are so annoying, they won't let me see you perform," to which David allegedly replied, "Don't worry, I'll fix it." Her brother Matthew would later admit the family knew about David. He even claimed David regularly picked Celeste up in the very same Tesla where her remains were ultimately found. Imagine that, seeing your little sister leave in that car, never knowing it would become a crime scene. But this wasn't just a private relationship. Neighbors and partygoers in Los Angeles say they saw them together all the time. Some thought she was in college, some believed she was 19. Nobody realized the truth. She was barely a teenager, and that truth would only grow more disturbing when investigators discovered what David was hiding in plain sight. In September 2024, a Tesla registered to David became the centerpiece of this entire investigation. At first, it was just another car parked on the street, unmoved for days. But neighbors started to notice something strange, an awful stench, flies circling, the kind of smell nobody wants to imagine. When authorities finally towed the car to a yard, what they found inside was horrifying. Celeste remains, severely decomposed, sealed inside a bag. At just 14 years old, her life had come to an unimaginable end, and the car that once picked her up was now evidence in a possible homicide. And here's the detail that sent chills across the internet. A Tesla's trunk isn't something you can just pop open like a normal car. It requires a code or a special key, meaning whoever placed Celeste inside knew exactly what they were doing. But the timeline of that Tesla only deepens the mystery. It was first ticketed in late August, then again in early September, before being towed days later. If Celeste's remains were already inside, how long had she been there? And why didn't David report the car stolen or even missing? These questions left investigators with more than just suspicions. They began to suspect that this wasn't just a tragic accident, it could be part of a much darker pattern. As investigators pieced the timeline together, the internet started doing its own digging. That's when screenshots began to circulate. Screenshots that allegedly showed David and Celeste far closer than anyone had imagined. In one Discord chat, David casually mentioned, "Me and deleted user got a kid on the way." That deleted user, believed to be Celeste. Even more disturbing, Celeste herself allegedly posted a photo of her ring finger with the name David tattooed on the inside. Alongside it, another picture, her hand clasped with a man's wrist wearing a bracelet many identified as David's. Fans were horrified. Was this really a teenage girl announcing an engagement? Was she pregnant? Or was it all part of something even darker? And David didn't make things any easier to explain. His music began drawing attention for cryptic lyrics, songs that mentioned pain, loss, even death in ways that fans could no longer ignore. One track eerily referenced a girl wanting to be with her mom and sister again, posted around the exact same time Celeste was reported missing. To outsiders, it looked like disturbing coincidence. But for those who knew the timeline, the lyrics felt like confessions hiding in plain sight. While the internet debated over screenshots and lyrics, people who actually saw Celeste in her final months began speaking out, and what they revealed only added to the chaos. One of Celeste's former teachers recalled how she returned to school after one of her earlier disappearances. She told classmates about meeting a rapper in Los Angeles, David, and how she had been staying with him. Just weeks later, she disappeared again. Her brother Matthew painted an equally troubling picture. He admitted David picked Celeste up regularly in his Tesla. He even claimed that on May 4, 2024, she left home with David to go to the movies, and never came back. But here's where it gets even stranger. Another video allegedly showed Celeste at a family cookout weeks after that supposed final disappearance. Was it old footage, a mistaken identity, or proof that Celeste's comings and goings weren't as straightforward as her family suggested? Even neighbors weighed in. One described seeing David and Celeste together constantly, saying he thought they were just another young couple, maybe 18 or 19. He admitted he had no idea she was only 14. So we're left with a family who claimed they knew David, a brother who saw his sister leave with him, and neighbors who thought they lived together. And yet, despite all of this, no arrest has been made. Which leaves one chilling question: what exactly are investigators waiting for? By the time Celeste's remains were found, many expected David's arrest to follow immediately, but days turned into weeks, and still, nothing. That silence raised serious questions. Why were investigators taking so long? According to law enforcement insiders, this wasn't just about one girl's tragic death. Detectives were digging into the possibility of a much bigger pattern, a web of exploitation, manipulation, and possible crimes stretching back years. If that's the case, they may be working toward federal charges, not just state ones. And anyone who knows how the feds work knows they don't rush. They build cases quietly, stacking evidence until it's airtight. Which could explain why David hasn't been taken into custody yet, despite the mounting public outrage. Meanwhile, the LAPD raided his Hollywood Hills home, seizing laptops, bags of evidence, and even surveillance footage from the gated neighborhood. Witnesses say private security guards were stationed outside, making sure nobody touched David's belongings as moving trucks cleared the property. If police already have evidence, why let him walk free? Maybe because they're not just after one charge. Maybe they're building something far bigger than anyone realizes. As the investigation dragged on, the public wasn't staying quiet. Every new headline, every leaked screenshot, every rumor online fueled the fire. Hashtags demanding justice for Celeste trended across social media. While fans and critics dissected David's every lyric, every past interview, every post, the pressure wasn't just online. It hit his career hard. David abruptly canceled the rest of his tour, scrapped an upcoming album release, and vanished from the spotlight. For an artist on the rise, those are moves that scream damage control. Even fellow musicians began distancing themselves. In the Los Angeles party scene, people who once claimed to see David and Celeste together now told outlets like TMZ they were shocked to learn her real age. Many admitted they thought she was a college student. Others claimed they had no idea who she was at all. But to the public, those excuses didn't hold up. Too many people had seen them together. Too many warning signs had been ignored. And the fact that no charges had been filed yet made people feel like justice was slipping away. Which brings us to the question nobody can escape. How did this go on for so long without anyone stopping it? Celeste's story isn't just about one relationship gone wrong, it's about a series of failures at every level. Her family admitted she had run away multiple times, but each disappearance seemed to be brushed off. Teachers recalled her talking about meeting a rapper in Los Angeles, yet no alarm bells were raised. Police reportedly brought her home from the Hollywood Hills more than once, but still nothing changed. And then there's the online trail. Discord chats, social media posts, even warnings sent directly to her mother's inbox. If those messages about trafficking were real, why weren't they taken seriously? Why wasn't action forced sooner? Some argue this is a story of neglect, from the home to the authorities to the platforms where young girls are most vulnerable. Others believe it's proof of how celebrity status can shield someone from immediate consequences. Either way, the result is the same: a 14-year-old who slipped through the cracks again and again until it was too late. And while investigators search for answers, the public is left asking an even harsher question. If Celeste was failed this badly, how many others are out there right now in the same danger? As the internet picked apart every detail, more voices began to emerge. Screenshots surfaced of messages allegedly from other underage girls who claimed David had contacted them. Some described conversations filled with declarations of love. Others hinted at secret relationships that had to be kept hidden. On Discord servers tied to his fanbase, users said they tried warning moderators about David's interactions with minors. Instead of action, they were silenced, muted for weeks at a time. If true, that means people knew what was happening, and still nothing was done. One chilling comment from a server user claimed this wasn't a one-off situation, that there were other young girls involved before Celeste. Whether those claims are accurate or not, the idea alone sent shockwaves through his fanbase. Because if investigators uncover a pattern, this won't just be about one girl's disappearance. It could open the door to charges far bigger than anyone imagined, and that's exactly why many believe the feds are already quietly involved. Because if more victims exist, this case could explode into something much larger. When people ask why David hasn't been arrested yet, the answer might be simple. This isn't just a local case anymore. Whispers online suggest federal investigators could already be building charges, and that changes everything. Because while local police move fast, the feds move carefully, methodically stacking evidence until a case is bulletproof. Some experts believe this could expand into a RICO investigation. For those unfamiliar, RICO is a federal law designed to take down organized crime. If prosecutors can prove a pattern of exploitation, manipulation, or coordinated cover-ups, the charges could go far beyond a single tragedy. That would explain the LAPD raids, the laptop seized, and the evidence pulled from David's Hollywood Hills home. It would also explain why they've stayed quiet, because if federal prosecutors are in control, nothing gets leaked until the trap is ready to close. And while the silence frustrates the public, history has shown us one thing: when the feds move, they don't miss. Which means David's career, his freedom, and possibly others around him could all be on the line. As the case stalled, the public took matters into their own hands. On social media, hashtags demanding justice for Celeste spread like wildfire. TikTokers broke down the timeline, Twitter threads dug up old interviews, and YouTube channels just like this one worked to piece the story together. What made the outrage even stronger was the belief that celebrities always get a pass. People compared this case to others where powerful figures escaped accountability for years, and it only fueled the anger. Some fans who once supported David now openly condemn him. Others burn his merch in protest, calling for streaming platforms to pull his music. Even outside the digital world, supporters of Celeste's family have held vigils, lighting candles and demanding answers. It's not just about one girl anymore, it's about trust. Trust in the system, in the police, and in the idea that justice applies to everyone equally, no matter how famous they are. But as the outrage grows louder, so does the silence from David himself. Which raises the next big question: where is he now? Just when the public expected David to face questioning, he vanished. Reports confirmed he abruptly broke the lease on his $20,000 a month Hollywood Hills mansion, just days after police raided it. Moving trucks were spotted outside, guarded by masked individuals who made sure nobody touched a single belonging. Neighbors described the scene like something out of a movie. Private guards rushed packing, and silence from David's team. The homeowner admitted even he was shocked, saying he only learned about the raid from his real estate manager. The timing raised eyebrows. Why leave so suddenly? Why now? To many, it looked less like a coincidence and more like an escape. And when paired with the unanswered questions around Celeste's final days, the optics couldn't be worse. Some speculate David is cooperating quietly with lawyers. Others believe he's hiding from what feels inevitable: a public downfall and possible arrest. Either way, his silence speaks volumes, because when a star abandons his home overnight, people can't help but wonder, what's he really running from? Even with everything we know, there are still huge gaps in this story. For example, why did Celeste's mother wait so long to report her missing after certain disappearances? And why were strange messages like the one claiming she was flown into Mexico never followed up on? Then there's the cookout footage, allegedly showing Celeste alive weeks after her brother said she disappeared for the last time. Was it really her? Was it old footage? Or does it mean parts of the story haven't been told truthfully? And what about David's music? Were his cryptic lyrics just artistic expression or something far darker? Fans continue to dissect every line, looking for confessions hidden in plain sight. Finally, why no arrest? Police have the car, the evidence, the timeline, and the testimony. Yet somehow David walks free while the public grows restless. These unanswered questions don't just haunt this case, they keep it alive. And the deeper people dig, the more it looks like the truth is still buried. With no official cause of death released, speculation has taken over. Some believe Celeste's case was an overdose, that there were no signs of gunshots, stab wounds, or blunt force trauma, which left room for that possibility. Others argue this was premeditated. They point to David's lyrics, the suspicious timing of her disappearances, and the fact that she was last seen leaving in his Tesla, the same car where her remains were found. Then there's the darker theory, that Celeste wasn't the only one. Online threads suggest a pattern of grooming and exploitation, with David at the center. If true, this could transform the case from a single tragedy into a federal investigation with multiple victims. Of course, none of these theories are confirmed, but the lack of clear answers has fueled them, leaving the public to fill in the blanks themselves. And as those theories grow louder, they add pressure to investigators, because sooner or later, the truth will have to come out. Since Celeste's body was found, David hasn't spoken publicly. No statements, no social media posts, no music releases. For an artist whose entire career was built on constant connection with fans, the silence is deafening. Some believe this is a legal strategy, lawyers advising him to stay quiet until the investigation plays out. Others see it as guilt, a refusal to face the storm head-on. But silence comes at a cost. David's tour is cancelled, his album scrapped. Collaborations he once bragged about? Gone. In an industry that moves fast, disappearing for even a few months can end a career, and David has been gone for far longer. Whether intentional or not, his silence is shaping the narrative. Because when the world is asking questions, saying nothing can be louder than any denial, which leaves us wondering, is David waiting for his moment to speak, or is that moment already gone? For all the noise around this case, the headlines, the rumors, the speculation, it's easy to forget the most important truth. Celeste was a daughter, a sister, a friend. Her family has been left shattered. Her brother Matthew has spoken openly about the pain of losing her, admitting he knew she left with David and never came home. Her mother Mercedes has faced harsh criticism online for her actions, or lack thereof. But even through the controversy, one fact remains: her child is gone. A vigil was held outside the family's home, where candles flickered and neighbors whispered prayers for a girl whose story captured the world's attention. On what would have been her 15th birthday, mourners gathered, reminding everyone that beyond the headlines, this was still about a life cut short. And whether you believe the family failed her or not, their grief is undeniable. Celeste's story has become bigger than them, yet they're the ones who live with the weight every single day. But even in tragedy, her story has sparked something much larger, a conversation about accountability, power, and how easily young lives can be overlooked. Celeste's case isn't just about one artist and one victim, it's about the system that allows celebrities to live above the rules. Time and time again, we've seen famous figures escape scrutiny until it's too late. Power, money, and status create shields that ordinary people don't have. Neighbors assumed Celeste was older. Partygoers thought she was in college. And when warnings surfaced online, they were brushed aside. It's the same pattern we've seen in other scandals. People don't want to believe their idols are capable of something so dark. But when the truth comes out, it's always the victims who pay the price. Celeste's story forces us to confront that reality. Fame can't be an excuse. Popularity can't be protection. If anything, it should demand more responsibility, not less. And if investigators follow this case to the very end, it might finally answer the question: can celebrity status really keep someone untouchable, or is the wall of protection starting to crack? At this point, the case sits in limbo. Investigators remain quiet, lawyers stay tight-lipped, and David himself has vanished from public view. But silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. Behind the scenes, prosecutors may be stacking charges, waiting until every piece of evidence is locked in place. That could mean anything from manslaughter to federal-level charges if a wider pattern is proven. For David, the possibilities are grim. Even if he avoids prison, his career may never recover. The trust is gone, the spotlight has turned harsh, and the public rarely forgets a scandal this big. For Celeste's family, what comes next is about closure. They've carried the weight of her disappearances, her tragic end, and the unanswered questions. Now all they want is justice, whatever that looks like when the truth finally comes out. Which brings us to the final question: how will this story end, and will justice actually be served? The case of David and Celeste is more than a headline. It's a chilling reminder of how fame, power, and silence can collide in the worst possible way. A 14-year-old girl vanished again and again, ignored by the very systems meant to protect her. A rising star built a career while hiding a darkness that fans and neighbors never suspected. And now, with her remains found in his Tesla, the world is left waiting for justice that still hasn't arrived. Will David face charges? Will investigators uncover other victims? Or will this be another case where fame shields the guilty while families are left broken? Right now, nobody knows. But one thing is certain: this story isn't over, and the next chapter could be the most shocking yet. You've been watching Fame Insight, where we cut through gossip and reveal the full picture. If you don't want to miss the next update in this case, make sure you subscribe right now, tap the like button, and drop your thoughts in the comments, because your voice, your questions, and your curiosity keep stories like this alive. And trust me, you won't believe what's coming next. CYA.